Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Chapter 1, entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, reading from texts 10 through 12. Reading from text 10 through 13. Text 10. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tva idam at etesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by Grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Text 11. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagam avasthitaha bhishmam eva bhirakshantu bhavantaha sarva eva hi. All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Text 12. Tasya Sanjayan Harsham Kuru Vridha Pitamaha Simhanadam Vinodyochai Sankham Dadma Pratapavan. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. Text 13. Tata sankascha bhairyascha panavanakar gomukhaha sahasaivabhya hanyanta Sashabdastamulo abhavat. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swaminiti Namine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Nagara Gramatarine Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is in continuation of the dialogue that Duryodhan, as the great diplomat, is posing in front of Bhishma, in front of Dronacharya, in front of the entire Kaurava army. Duryodhana has come to motivate and to, not just motivate others, but most importantly motivate himself for the upcoming battle. So here, in this text that we read, we started off with text 10, a very important, couple of important points have been made here, which Srila Prabhupada has very wonderfully pointed out in his purport. He's saying, Duryodhana is saying, that our strength is immeasurable. Aparyaptam. Aparyaptam, Srila Prabhupada has translated it as immeasurable. Now, when I was going through the Surrender Unto Me, the supplement to this Bhagavad Gita given by, or the overview of the Bhagavad Gita, which is given by His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu, over there a very interesting point has been brought forward, which is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada himself at other places, which Bhurijan Prabhu brings out, which I thought is noteworthy to mention, is the word aparyaptam. Aparyaptam as immeasurable, which Srila Prabhupada has translated it as. Srila Prabhupada is actually, even Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushan has also translated the words aparyaptam as immeasurable. Srila Prabhupada actually has taken his purports and even the translations. The basis of, writing the Bhagavad Gita is from two personalities that Srila Prabhupada has followed. One is from the commentaries of Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushan, and the second is the commentaries from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So these are the two personalities from whom Srila Prabhupada has based the purports. The Bhaktivedanta purports are based on these two personalities' writings and teachings. So here Bhurijan Prabhu points out that Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushan is, saying that yes, aparyaptam is actually immeasurable, whereas Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given an opposite meaning, given another light to the meaning of the word aparyaptam. Because, we need to understand here what Bhurijan Prabhu is explaining is that Duryodhan is such a clever diplomat. He is, and Sanskrit is also such a beautiful language that one word, based on the context in which it is being talked about, one word can have multiple meanings. So this is one such case where this word aparyaptam can have many different meanings. So the two meanings that have been chosen by two of our acharyas, and Srila Prabhupada, we will try to explain that and we will try to understand that, which shows the actual mood of Duryodhan. When we understand this word aparyaptam, we will understand the mood of Duryodhan in completeness. It helps us in understanding. And that is the way that our acharyas have so wonderfully explained things to us, that they have revealed these things to us so that we can understand fully what is the mentality of such persons or personalities. So, because of the glories that has been handed down by the acharyas to us, by Srila Prabhupada to us, we are ever grateful to them that for explaining these, secrets onto us so openly. So here it comes. Aparyaptam, as Srila Prabhupada has used it in the purport and the translation, is immeasurable. So which means that the first line of the verse can mean either that our strength is immeasurable, but the word aparyaptam, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained it as insufficient, which is completely opposite. Aparyaptam also can mean insufficient. So this is almost like when Duryodhana is saying, whether he's saying our strength is immeasurable, or whether he's saying our strength is insufficient, both the meaning, it is used by Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada is saying, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Bhishma becomes encouraged when he heard this meaning. But the second meaning was intended to actually encourage Dronacharya, which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained, that our strength is insufficient because we are protected by Bhishma. Because Bhishma was definitely a formidable warrior, but because he favored the Pandavas so much, he was, like Arjuna was the dearest to Bhishma Pitama. So, Bhishma was very much emotionally attached also to the Pandavas. So Duryodhana felt that he would not fight to his full capacity. So Dronacharya took the second meaning, and he understood Duryodhana's message to be as follows. He says that Duryodhana understood it like this. He says that our strength is insufficient because of Bhishma's split loyalties. Therefore, Dronacharya, you must fight even harder to make up for Bhishma's weakness. So thus the expert diplomat, Duryodhana, encouraged both Bhishma and Dronacharya by this one word, by the using of this one word, aparyaptam. We need to understand that how Bhishma Pitama was, the reason why, Duryodhana had to give so much of importance and so much of attention to both these, stalwarts in his army, both Pitama Bhishma as well as his guru Dronacharya. He wanted not to, discourage or not encourage enough, not give enough encouragement to either of them. So here he's saying, he's glorifying just Bhishma Pitama in this verse, that our strength is immeasurable because we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. As soon as he said this, he immediately thought in his mind, oh my God, now what will Dronacharya think? That he is going to get, less motivated. So then he actually looked at Dronacharya and he said, well, our strength is definitely insufficient because of Bhishma Pitama's loyalty. Therefore, Dronacharya, I'm counting on you to fight extra better so that you can make up for this weakness of Pitama Bhishma. That is the, cunningness, rather, and such a diplomatic approach that Duryodhana has, and which is being pointed out by our acharyas to us, that this was the nature of Duryodhana, that he wanted to be, to serve his own selfish ends, to meet with his own selfish, motivations. He was ready to go to any extent, tell false things, give false motivations, give false, praises, do all of that just to serve his, selfish ends. That was the nature of Duryodhana. And in Kali Yuga, unfortunately, that is the nature of each and every one of us. We also fall in this category unless we really, put a check, and we really try to, go against the current, because everyone in Kali Yuga is actually going in this direction. They are going with the current. They are flowing along with the current. They're all going downstream. When the water falls from a height, when it comes down, everyone will naturally go that way. No fish can dare to swim upstream when the water flow is coming downstream. No one can do that. It's extremely a very, very difficult task. But that's what devotees have to strive to do when they choose Krishna. Every time when we choose Krishna, we are choosing to go against the current. We need to understand that. And that is the mode that we need to be in when we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness. Practicing Krishna consciousness is something that we should not take too lightly. It's not as simple as just chanting Hare Krishna and following the four regulative principles. Because after some time, if we are not doing it in the right way, then that can also seem very mechanical. It can become very mechanical. It can become very, stagnant in our life, because we have to follow all the limbs of devotional service together. We have to render devotional service in the loving association of devotees. That is the tapasya. When we are able to render devotional service by being in the group and the loving association of devotees, that is what Krishna is saying. Krishna is not so much seeing what we are, or how we are doing when we are, individually doing things. Yes, he is definitely watching that time too, because that time it is only us and Krishna, when we are all alone by ourselves. But the challenge in Kali Yuga especially is how can we render service in the loving association of devotees. Sankirtana. Sankirtana means samyak kirtana, means when we are doing congregational chanting of the holy names. That is the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga. Bhajananandi means just to be, sitting and chanting all by ourselves. That is not just the purpose of Kali Yuga. That is not the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya came to teach us how we can become Goshthanandis, not Bhajananandis. Goshthanandis means how we can chant and render devotional service in the loving association of devotees. That gives us the strength so that when we are alone, when we are not having so much of association, and we are alone during the rest of the time, when we are alone at home or something, that association of devotees can sustain us when we are alone, when we are doing our individual sadhana at home. But the strength to render individual sadhana at home or when we are by ourselves, that strength will come by the way we associate with devotees and how we render our services in the association of devotees. That is the strength, because Srila Prabhupada said, otherwise can we imagine this, how in the towards the end of Srila Prabhupada's glorious life, Srila Prabhupada mostly stressed on just one instruction. He said that your love for me will be shown by the way you cooperate with each other. That is the most important instruction. How we are cooperating with each other is how we are going to show our love to Srila Prabhupada. It is not just, important that we render devotional service. It is important, but it is more important to render devotional service lovingly with others, while serving with others. How much are we able to take others along and serve along with them? That is what Krishna is saying. So when we do that, that is, going against this kind of mentality that Duryodhana is displacing, which is so self-centered. We have to get away from the self-centered mentality, which is in Kali Yuga is a very normal thing. Even in families, nowadays, of course, the concept of joint families is completely, almost getting diminished. But, because the very fact being that joint families, the way they function is so that everyone can serve a common purpose. But in joint families, they are not able to function nowadays. Why? It's because everyone is so self-centered. When we draw circles, by putting a center around us, when we draw a circle, then somewhere or the other, the different circles will collide with each other. They will have clashes. But if there is one center, and if we keep drawing circles around that one center, however close the circles may be, they will never clash with each other. That is a devotee environment as opposed to a regular Kali Yuga environment. In Kali Yuga, everyone is having their own center and they draw a circle around them. Therefore, there is clashes. But in devotee community, we are trying to keep Guru and Krishna in the center of our lives so that there will be no clashes amongst devotees. And even if there is clashes, we seek the help and we seek the guidance of our seniors so that they can, eradicate all those clashes. We can get out of this Krishna into our lives as the center of our lives. So as long as we are doing that, then we are, really showing to Krishna that, Krishna, I am trying to go against the general mentality of the people of Kali, which is being self-centered, the mentality of Duryodhana that is being displayed over here. How much cunningness just to serve his selfish purpose. So we have to really get rid of that. Stop thinking about, even, when we, I remember Srila Jayapataka Maharaj once told us, he said, even if we keep thinking, oh, I have to be more humble, I have to be more, serving others, I have to be more tolerant, I have to do this, I have to do that, that is also being very selfish. It's very difficult, to actually do any service when we are still very I-conscious. Rather, if we are thinking, how can I serve my Guru? How can I do something which will, please Guru and Krishna? How can every activity of mine, every thought of mine be for the glorification of Guru and Krishna? As soon as we start thinking and acting with this kind of mentality, then that life becomes glorious. That life becomes that it is not anymore I-centered, it doesn't belong to me anymore, but I am meant for the service of my Guru and Krishna. That is the perfection of life. So, we need to be very, very mindful that this mentality, we should nurture our mentality very, very carefully, that are we being very selfish or are we trying to, serve? Is our purpose for the purpose that, everyone should tell, oh this, oh that, all niceness to me? Rather, can I spend my time being nice to others? Let me try to focus myself in glorifying others, in serving others. That should be the focus. That should be our consciousness. As soon as that happens, that, paradigm shift, as soon as we have that in our life, we'll see that we are leading a very, very ecstatic and a blissful life. Because that life will no longer belong to us. It will be in the service of Guru and Krishna. So, anyways, coming back to the verse, here in this verse and in verse 10 itself, another point is being pointed out by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, where Prabhupada is saying that here he is making a comparison between his army and the army of the Pandavas. You see how he's saying that our strength is immeasurable, being very carefully protected, perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, and the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is very limited. Just look at this comparison. Srila Prabhupada, goes on to mention in one of the lectures I was listening, that comparison, making a comparison, is nothing but a demoniac mentality. Making comparison between anything, or any situation, any personalities, comparing is actually a demoniac mentality. Oh, this is good, that is bad. That is good, this is bad. This is, this kind of thing is actually a very, very, it's not a divine quality. Making comparison, oh, my wife, does this better than that person's wife. That's it. You are proud. We are being proud. We are showing our prideness. Such negative emotions when we are doing any kind of comparison, that shows our demoniac mentality. It's a very, very hard fact to digest, but this is a fact, that making comparisons is nothing but a demoniac quality. So, by making this comparison, Duryodhana is giving proof of what kind of mentality he belongs to. And here also he is taking the name of Bhima because, the person that we feel most challenged by, during difficult situations, that person actually comes and troubles us the most. So here we can see that, Duryodhana always felt very challenged by only this one person who is Bhima, because he knew that if anyone would defeat Duryodhana, it would only be Bhima. So here he is showing his fear again by saying that Bhima is the one who is protecting the Pandavas' army. So all this thing is just shown by these 4 lines that Duryodhana is speaking. This entire mentality is coming across, and all of this is revealed thanks, our immense gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, by whose mercy we are able to understand these deep meanings, and these deep understandings have been revealed to us by their mercy. So then, now, text 10, Duryodhana was very, very, he glorified Bhishma Pitama, right? He just said that, Bhishma Pitama is the one who has, immeasurably, the way he has protected our army, it is great. He has done a great job. Then in text 11, he is realizing, oh, no. What about my other great generals whom I have mentioned before? Because everyone was listening to Duryodhana. So, to encourage others, again his cunning diplomacy is coming across. In text 11, he's saying to everyone that all of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Here he is mentioning that, after all, Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport that, after all, Duryodhana is telling everyone that Bhishma Pitama is after all Pitama. He's grandsire, he's old. So he might get, busy fighting on one side while our enemy can take advantage of that and can, enter into our army, penetrating our army. So therefore, all of you, my great generals, my great fighters, all of you also have great important role to play, that you have to stand at strategic points and not break the phalanx. You have to make sure that you're standing at your strategic positions so that the army can never, the enemy army can never penetrate into our phalanx. They cannot do that. So Bhishma Pitama was, like Duryodhana was saying, that he is undoubtedly a very great and valiant fighter, but at the same time, if he gets distracted just in fighting, on one side, make sure that all of you are standing and taking care so that the enemy army doesn't take advantage of that. So, this is how Duryodhana was trying to encourage the others in his army. And Srila Prabhupada also mentions here in the purport towards the end that Duryodhana was actually very confident, that Dronacharya and Pitama Bhishma would be very loyal to him. Because when the most atrocious, incident happened, when Mother Draupadi was dragged by Dushasana into the Kaurava, court, into the assembly of the Kauravas, and when she was, trying to be disrobed by Dushasana, all of this atrocities was happening right in front of the eyes of, Dronacharya and Pitama Bhishma, and did not raise one word of protest. They did not protest that act. So Duryodhana was actually very confident that, in that helpless condition of Draupadi, at that time if they have not spoken, that means, they are going to be loyal to me, and loyal to the throne of Hastinapur. So that was Duryodhana's greatest confidence, that he had the loyal support of these two great valiant warriors, Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya. So that was his great confidence also, that he was, entering the battlefield. And Bhishma Pitama, he was hearing all this, jabbering of Duryodhana, and instead of saying anything to Duryodhana, Bhishma Pitama showed in action in text 12. What did he do? Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. So, just to prove to Duryodhana that yes, okay, whatever you're saying, I'm just going to do this as my duty and nothing more than that. So, Pitama Bhishma was just reassuring that yes, I am there with you, Duryodhana. Although you are siding adharma, I am still there with you. I'm trying to, show you and, I'm trying to be there for you. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also says that indirectly, by symbolizing the conch shell, which is actually a symbol of Krishna, he actually informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle because Krishna was on the other side. But still, as the duty of being the commander-in-chief of the Kaurava, army, he would do his duty of fighting, but he was trying to show to Duryodhana that, because wherever Krishna is, that's where victory will be. So, by blowing on his conch shell in this way, he is trying to show to Duryodhana that, victory is going to never be on your side, but it will be wherever Sri Krishna is. So, that is how, Duryodhana was assured by Pitama Bhishma. And then text 13, we ended by reading that the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Imagine this entire battle of Kurukshetra. Just try to envision this entire battle scene. That the entire world, all the kings were divided up amongst these two, fighting parties. One the Pandava side, one the Kaurava side. There was only one person, actually two people, who did not take part in this battlefield of Kurukshetra. One was Lord Balaram, and the other was Vidura. Apart from them, everybody, all the kings, everyone had participated in this battle of Kurukshetra. So imagine the sound when everyone is blowing their conch shell, when everyone is sounding their bugles, their trumpets, their horns. It was a tumultuous sound which was roaring in all four directions. Such big, huge armies, coming to battle. This is something like a, sight to behold. So with that, we will end over here and we will continue on next time from text 14 onwards. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji. And in the previous classes, you had mentioned that Kurukshetra, the vibes, it was a pious ground.
Yes.
It was a pious ground because Krishna was present, or it had some other meaning also?
Well, Kurukshetra has been called Dharmakshetra, and Kurukshetra was actually a place of pilgrimage. Even before the battle of Kurukshetra was fought there, it was actually a place of pilgrimage because the Triveni Sangam was there also. And before the battle of Kurukshetra, actually, one time when there was one of the position of the moons, it was very auspicious for everyone to take bath in that Sangam. So it is mentioned that all the Brajbasis, including Nanda Maharaj, Jashoda Maya, and all the gopis, Srimati Radharani, everyone came to take bath in Kurukshetra because the Jamuna is flowing over there. And also from Dwarka, Krishna, along with his 16,000 queens, and Devaki Mata, and Vasudev, Balaram, Rohini, all of them came. So imagine they had all set up their tent in Kurukshetra because that was the place of pilgrimage. They had all come because it was a full moon night and it was very auspicious to take bath in that Triveni Sangam. So that's why they all had gathered, and that's where the Leela of Jagannath actually took place. But, so yes, Kurukshetra was this huge tract of land. Imagine just 16,000 queens. They had 16,000 tents just for the queens, you know. So you can imagine, and then all the Brajbasis and all the other residents of Dwarka, they all came and gathered in one place. So you can imagine the, you know, the extent of the length and breadth of Kurukshetra was huge, and it was definitely a place of pilgrimage. And yes, it is dharma kshetra, also because, you know, Krishna himself had chosen this spot for the battle, and because he was present, so that became more auspicious.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. It makes sense.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to add anything else?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. This is the Venkatapati from Hyderabad, India.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, wonderful explanation, Mataji. This is something that helps me to have a better understanding of the significance of Kurukshetra. I have one question related to the narration you did about Bhishma Pitama, that he was on the side of Duryodhana when the mother Draupadi was getting disrobed. I mean, from a context standpoint, even on a material platform itself, if we see something of instead of that happening, you know, you would expect that a person who's on a mode of goodness would definitely protest and try to stop it, you know, not necessarily has to be spiritual. So I'm trying to understand the fact that Bhishma Pitama, being the pure devotee of Krishna, and seeing that incident happening in the in that gathering, how do we understand that? You know, why would Bhishma Pitama want to tolerate that kind of gruesome act?
Correct. Very, very interesting question, Prabhu. Actually, it was because of the promise that, Bhishma Pitama had taken 2 promises, and he had given 2 promises to Shantanu, to his father, to Maharaj Shantanu. He had said that 2 things. One thing was that he will never marry, so that he doesn't have any descendants, because that he will always remain faithful and loyal to the throne of Hastinapur. And he had said that whoever is sitting on that throne, I will see you in them. Means he will see his father, Shantanu, in them. So he had promised his father that he will be loyal to the throne of Hastinapur. Now, Krishna, this is something, it has to be explained in 2-3 levels, Prabhu, so please bear with me. But, the first thing we need to understand is that Krishna chooses his pure devotees only to show how to act, and he chooses his pure devotees only to show also how not to act. That is also very, very important. How not to act. It is not just okay to show how to conduct ourselves, but it is also important to show how to not conduct ourselves. What are the mistakes that we should try to avoid? So Krishna chooses his pure devotees to also prove that to us. So here in the life of Pitama Bhishma, Krishna chose him because he wanted to show to everyone that even though you may have made promises, even though you have, vowed, in those days the saying would go that, if, pran jaye par vachan na jaye, that was the conduct, that was the code of conduct for Kshatriyas, that even our life would go away, but the word that we have given should never go. We should always stay truthful to our words. So Bhishma Pitama was very, very staunch in following the word that he had given. But Krishna is trying to show that when the father of religion himself, Krishna, is saying to do something, even though it is because Pitama actually was approached by Krishna. Krishna actually went to Pitama Bhishma and said that, why are you siding the Kauravas? Why? Krishna went and talked to Pitama Bhishma before the battle of Kurukshetra. And he actually tried to tell Pitama Bhishma that you should come to the side of the Pandavas because that's where dharma is. And then Pitama Bhishma said, I know I should be doing that. And more important than dharma, you are on the side of the Pandavas. So therefore, wherever you are, I should be there. But what can I do? I am bound by my own vows. And I want to show to the world that following own vows is not important when it comes to choosing you. So this is one level of understanding that why Pitama Bhishma was doing what he was doing. Because he was doing things because, Draupadi being brought into the assembly by the Shasana, of course she was brought by the order of Duryodhana, but the one sitting on the throne was Dritharastra. Since Dritharastra did not protest, Bhishma Pitama could not go against Dritharastra because he made his second vow of saying that I will see your picture, my dear father. Whoever is sitting on the throne, I will see you in them. Therefore, I will not protest against you. He had made that vow. So therefore, even such a big injustice was happening in front of, Bhishma Pitama's eyes. He was helpless in front of his own vows that he had made. Now that is the logical understanding. But according to spiritual understanding, Bhishma Pitama says himself that what I am doing is wrong. He has accepted that. But there is nothing according to him, he's saying that I cannot go against my vows that I have made. That is against the code of conduct that I choose to lead by my life by. But look at Arjuna. He had also made so many vows. Even Krishna himself had made a vow that he is not going to lift weapons on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And Pitama smiled at that time, and Bhishma had smiled at that time and said, I'll make sure you raise your weapon. So for Krishna, what his devotee says is more important than his own vow. That is for, the law of Krishna. That is the law book of Krishna, that Krishna doesn't care for his own vows. And he, in fact, raised a weapon against Bhishma Pitama himself. So Bhishma was so happy because he made Krishna break his vow. And that's why Krishna says in the Gita, Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati, that my dear Arjuna, hey Konteya, you declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish. Because Krishna is saying that if I say, oh, my devotees will never perish, if any other devotee challenges that, I will break this vow, no problem. Because for Krishna, his devotee's vow is more important than his own vow. But if Arjuna makes that declaration that, Krishna's devotees will never perish, then Krishna will go to any extent and every extent to fulfill that declaration of Arjuna, who is his dear devotee. So that is how we need to understand this, that how Krishna chooses his dear devotees only to show us how not to act also. I hope this is somehow giving you a picture of the entire question that you asked. Does this help?
Yes, Mataji, definitely it does. The whole three different points that you mentioned on why Bhishma Pitama had to witness that incident and be silent. This will be very helpful. This is a very common question that is still asked even in our teaching activities, in our Bhagavad Gita classes. So I just wanted to hear from you so that I have a understanding when these kind of questions are asked as well, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you for that very nice question, Prabhu. Thank you. Any more questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Hari Bol, Nandini. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Yes,
I always
Mataji.
look forward to hearing your sweet voice on this call.
Mataji, we are actually very fortunate to hear you. Every time you give a class, it's more like seeing everything live. So it's such wonderful description. And Mataji, just wanted to ask about the point that you were mentioning about Duryodhana's diplomacy and how the world is moving towards being self-centered. So, being devotees, at least we should try to flow against the current. That's what you were mentioning. So I was wanting to understand how it is possible for us to be very loving and selfless when everybody else around us is being self-centered. We also need to defend ourselves and sustain. Especially with children and other dependents, we also need to be sometimes self-centered. So I am trying to understand when we don't know how others are around us, and if they are being self-centered, and if we try to be overly loving, and if it is not being reciprocated in the same way, sometimes we start feeling, maybe we are being too loving and too selfless, and we are taking advantage of it. So in this Kali Yuga, how is it possible for us, even amongst devotees, sometimes this situation, it is there. So I want to understand how we can understand this and, not lose our courage to be loving and selfless to others.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful question, Nandini, as always. Wonderful question. Well, yes, Srila Prabhupada answers that question very, very beautifully. He says, I'll just repeat that. Srila Prabhupada says, choose your association very wisely. We need to if we want to go against the current, the current, as I was explaining, is going downhill. It's going downstream. So if we have to go in the opposite direction, it is impossible if we are going by ourselves. We will be washed away. But if we can hold on to some strong hands who we know are very strong, if we can hold on to them, then by their strength we will move ahead. We can go against the current. So it is very important for us to choose the right kind of hand. Because there may be some, people whose hands are not so strong, naturally, or not so appealing to us, But at the same time, they're struggling in their own way to survive and to find their own association, by whose association they can also move up. So we leave them at that. It's all right. We respect them from that distance. But who we know for sure that who will be able to take care of us, at the same time take care of themselves also, these are the devotees whom we need to cling on to. We need to choose our association of like-minded devotees. So that does not mean that when we choose the association of like-minded devotees, when we choose the association who are favorable to us, who can nurture our Krishna consciousness, who can encourage us every walk of the way, who can encourage us, that is the kind of association we should be getting attached to. Once we get attached to that kind of association, when we, get plugged in to that kind of association, we get also surcharged. And that gives us the strength to become a lending hand to devotees who are having shortcomings in their life also. And when we feel that, okay, our charge is getting over, again reach out and again get ourselves charged and again, reach out. So that is how Krishna conscious journeys are. That we need to become, yes, there will be people who will come in the garb of devotees and take advantage. There will be sometimes happening, it is a fact. But at the same time, we should, Prabhupada said, hate the disease and don't hate the one who is diseased. Let us hate the disease. Let us hate the disease of, negativity, of fame, profit, adoration, distinction, pride, anger. All of these are the things that we need to hate, but not the person who possesses these. Because it is there in all of us in some extent or the other. To some extent or the other, we are still here. That means we have these qualities in some proportion or the other. There could be a difference in that proportion. But because in some person we are seeing the proportion in much more greater way, doesn't mean that we are superior to them, nor does it mean that we should stop, all kind of association with them. Of course, if that association is very, very, disturbing to our Krishna consciousness, then we should talk to our superiors and decide that, yes, okay, this association is very detrimental for my spiritual life, so let me stay away and associate from a distance. But giving respect is a bottom line for every relationship. We have to give respect to everybody, no matter who they are. What to speak of devotees, even non-devotees deserve respect. Right? A Vaishnava respects even an ant. So, giving respect, having that attitude, the proper, loving attitude, that needs to be there. But at the same time, we need to get that nourishment from a higher source as well. Then we will not feel depleted of our own resources. So, it is very important for us to choose our association very wisely. Then these things that are, immediately happening around us, that will no longer affect us very badly or very negatively, because we know that, okay, we are connected to this higher association and I can take as much as I need from here, but my main source of, getting my inspiration is from this source. So, you are safe that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, Mataji. And so I can understand it this way, that when we really don't have association of like-minded devotees, if we pray to Krishna, he might send us somebody who is favorable, or even if it doesn't happen, we can still keep in touch distantly.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, one thing that even this time Srila Jayapataka Maharaj was mentioning to me is that association is not dependent just on physical proximity, We can associate with someone who is even thousands of miles away from us, That is also a possibility. So, like we are associating with Srila Prabhupada by reading his books, by listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, we are associating with him. We are associating with our Guru Maharajas, whoever they may be. None of us have the privilege or the, opportunity to stay with our spiritual masters physically all the time. It's not possible. But how do we stay in touch with our gurus? It is by connecting with them through their Vani, by associating with them, by listening to their lectures, and by following their instructions in our lives. That is what is the connection about. It is a spiritual connection. That is how we're connecting with Srila Prabhupada. That is how we're connecting with his disciples, our spiritual masters. Right?
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you.